According to sources, ESPN, Dennis Dodd, a lot of people have said this, that the Big 12 is interested in one more school, bringing them to 14. So there would be 14 this year, 14 next year, and kind of roll in with that. 14 seems to be our best number. Now that we're at 13, who's going to make a move to start having a conversation with us was the general discussion today. We talked about a lot of different schools, but it's more about, hey, we've room for one more, and who wants to be the first to really want to be a part of the Big 12 now and join us. I believe that to a point.
That's propaganda. Buddy.
Yeah, because honestly, if you say we're only taking one, and 3 schools call you and say we're in and we'll take the deal, you're not going to be like, well, sorry, Oregon, but Arizona State called us 5 minutes ago and they got the deal.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be considered propaganda, I guess, but it's definitely
that's just floating something out to create urgency.
That's all it is. Yeah,
that is. The McRib is offered now.
Yeah, right.
Like, come get your McRib now before it's gone. And that's that kind of advertising there.
That's exactly how I read it. I read it as, hey, if you want on the bus, the flight, the whatever to greener pastures, you better jump on now while you can, and don't be the last one standing there to turn off the lights, because you'll be by your lonesome. So yeah, that's exactly how I read that, because of course, if Oregon and Washington, and the fact that we're even entertaining that idea, and I don't mean like deeply entertaining, because that still feels like just such a dream scenario and just really not that realistic throughout this entire process. But hey, at this point, like, who the heck knows? But if you want to dial up the pressure on them or on anybody else, like, that's the way to do it. Let them know, like, there's not unlimited seating. We're not going to be a 20-team conference. Like, if you want on here, you better try to grab a spot while you can. And I definitely think that's ramping up the pressure. But to the point about the one-team thing, yeah, if Oregon and Washington were to give you a call and say, hey, we are both interested and we both want to come on board, well, you're not going to say no to either one of those schools. So you will make exceptions for the one there. But I do think if you already know that that's not a possibility, and maybe your pool that you're trying to pull from is a little bit more limited, like, let's say that's really intended for like a specific school to try and make a move, like in Arizona or something like that, I can see where that's coming from, because I don't think it's a situation where, yeah, if you had more than one, you're going to say, no, we've got to be at 14. So definitely ramping up the pressure on whoever that was intended for, which could be multiple parties and probably is. And I'm sure they know that too. So the game of chess continues on as far as the Pac and the Big 12 now, and those remaining schools and what they decide to do. We know they're not all on board. Oregon State, I don't know if you saw their message that they put out of their statement of sticking with the Pac-12 and Pac-12 unity and all those types of things. And of course, they got about the response you would expect, which is, well, of course you're saying that you don't have any other options. You're not like one of the hunted. You're not one of those that's at the top of the list. And I don't say that disparagingly about the Beavers, because there's Big 12 schools like Baylor or K-State or Iowa State. We could go on that would be in the same boat if the shoes were reversed. So that's just unfortunate for Oregon State, but they've got to do what they've got to do.
And they've been there.
Yeah, and
they've all been there.
Yeah, they have been there before on a couple of occasions, so they know that feeling. And so, yeah, of course, they're loyal to the Big 12, right, until they're not, or until the Big 12's not. So that was no surprise from Oregon State. And yeah, I mean, there's other stuff that's trickled out, but that was interesting to see the Big 12 kind of ratcheting up that pressure.
Yeah, absolutely, and. I think that is. I'm going to call that the McRib doctrine of advertising.
Fair.
Get your McRib now before it's gone. What if all your friends get one and you missed out on
while supplies last
on chewy barbecuey goodness?